When it comes to arcade and PC ports on the NES and Famicom, arcades definitely get the better deal most of the time, at least to me. Not all of them are perfect, but they've definitely hit more home runs than PC ports, which have made some of the worst titles I've covered on FamiThon so far. Now it's time to add another title to the list, Thexder. Thexder is a Japanese-produced PC game that ended up finding success in both Japan and America, which actually seems pretty rare for a PC game at the time. Originally developed by Game Arts, a company that would be later known for the Lunar and Grandia series, and its American success was founded when Sierra Online published the titles around 1987. Sadly, neither of those companies are involved in today's port. Instead, by a company I'm sure you're familiar with, Squaresoft. Of course today one of the biggest video game companies in the world, but in 1985 still a struggling company trying to find success, even porting other companies' titles. Sadly, Square had no involvement producing Famicom Thexder. Instead, Bits Laboratories was hired on. Bits Laboratory is a contract developer that we've already encountered with the last game they ported, Astro Robo Sasa, which was a technically well-produced game, just not a very fun experience. Also, upon doing research for this episode, they may have developed the Famicom port of Bokosuka Wars, which isn't very good for their track record in my opinion. Anyways, Thexder for Famicom. Needless to say, it's a very shoddy port of a PC classic. Thexder is kind of a platforming shoot-'em-up. You can transform into a plane to fly all over the screen, but it's so annoying to control, and anytime you hit anything, it'll transform back into the robot. And even worse is traveling through these tight corridors where you need precise button presses not to turn back into the robot while maneuvering. The robot form is definitely better, but that's not saying much. If I can give this game anything, is that the robot has a lock-on feature, saving time from trying to hit these things that fly all over the screen. Most of the time. Even if the robot is more fun to play as, it doesn't help the fact that this game is boring and annoying because of the terrible programming. What's the one advantage the NES and Famicom had over PCs and other consoles at the time? The ability to scroll through scenes smoothly, but Bits here couldn't bother to figure that out. If they did develop Bokosuka Wars, it's starting to make sense. But that's not where it ends. Next we have the half-assed HUD that consists of a meter and your life amount. And what does this meter do? I have no idea. It'll manually go down a few seconds into the game and be completely gone in a minute. And when it's almost gone, it'll start beeping. I thought it was my life at first because that's what bleeping in video games mean. And when it's completely gone, nothing happens. If this is some kind of defense meter or attack meter, I couldn't tell. I mean, you shoot bullets normally, so what gives? Look at the HUD of the original game. It feels like a HUD, not some random crap at the bottom corners of the screen. Also check this out. As the robot, you jump by pressing up on the D-pad. But wait, dear viewer, the B button is not used in this game. How incompetent are you to really not figure out that buttons can be used, especially if they're big and red and meant to be pushed? And I never talk about this because what's the point, but since I already don't like this game, the graphics are just embarrassing. I know this is 1985, but still, why does this game only want to use 4 colors as anyone's guess? Hell, even the cheat codes are incomprehensible. Press this long string of D-pad inputs, but in doing so you must hit each of the diagonals in between, so that you hold the next direction before releasing the first direction? To skip to the ending right away, press left and A, then reset, releasing the buttons at the same time, then right and A, then releasing the buttons at the same time, and then, this is just ridiculous. I guess I barely talked about the gameplay itself, but really there's not much to say. I couldn't get through much of the game as I keep dying because of the game's poor production, which makes this game super hard, and not helping is the enemies that can drain your life completely because there's no invincibility point. The sad truth is the NES and Famicom would overtake the popularity of pretty much every computer at the time, but as of 1985 you can dump lame computer ports onto it and stain the reputation of the original title because most people revisit consoles instead of computers. And no company would care because there's barely a profit in the Famicom yet. So they're selling us a sham instead of a great experience. Shame on you, Square and Bits.